period, exceptions to rules should and can and should be recognized to prevent atrocity, i.e. denying hundreds of thousands of people contraceptives that can save their lives. That's the Cincinnati evidence. This also disproves the role of the judge argument. We shouldn't ontologize the analysis of violence it makes, nor present case-by-case evaluation of possible harm and how you can violence, stretch concept of violence to include psychological, structural, and epistemic save their lives. That's the Cincinnati evidence. This also disproves the role of the judge argument. We shouldn't ontologize the analysis of violence it makes, nor present case-by-case evaluation of possible harm and how you can violence to include psychological, structural, and epistemic save their lives. That's the Cincinnati evidence. This also disproves the role of the judge argument. We shouldn't ontologize the analysis of violence it makes, nor present case-by-case evaluation of possible harm and how you can violence to include psychological, structural, and epistemic save their lives. That's the Cincinnati evidence. This also disproves the role of the judge argument. We shouldn't ontologize the factors contributing to the civil rights and certain people, institutions, and politics we really have taken far-reaching consequences in politics. I understand all new figures about the take the federal government's back in 1920. Wanted to extricate from the culture the idea the government could be active force for making people select federal currently the institution they leave us without any rudder for focus on the victim possible conspiracy on your victims stating government capacity. Only dismissing disparaged government actions can change the playing field and progress with what we need most of all is Georgia the politics steeped in division. Floating picks are bad. They prevent nuanced strategies over to ideas to tackle oppression and steal the entire affirmative, which undermines clash critical to any nuanced debate. Dealing with injustices that only affect us is ethically bigger. I do wish we might see the change in character that deal with a change reflected about the need for personal relevance, possibilities, capital disaster relief until there could be permanent now. Sports metropolitan because it's not because it's not a date. The next step is that we see the world of having experienced justice process. The next step is that this is necessary for justice until let it be expanded. FTC self-preserving, self-centered justice can only grow. Personal interest required. It lacks the ability to be indignant, especially when one is personally among the injured. We can follow the politics of narcissism.
Before we start cross-ex, my computer just crashed, so can I have
start. The analysis of violence against the What do you mean?
Oh yeah, every time I know.
I'm not.
So one lady was playing and she was like, so she like jawed out on it's so like her jaw is like half in it's like all cut up. I told her
You start your Tour off with AF saves hundreds of thousands of people. After this debate, we'll all go home, etc. So why shouldn't we focus more on the ethics and discourse of the one to prepare us for the real world rather than these hypothetical impacts?
Well, nothing that voting negative doesn't really change anything either, right?
It's about education.
Right. It is an ethical endorsement of the plan. However, debate still has intrinsic competitive merits that make it to some degree a game.
Right.
So,
Obviously, it's competitive. There are like norms in the game. There are speech times, speech orders. I'm talking about the educational question that debate poses. If the impacts of the act never happened, why should we just focus on that educational and
because
ethical value?
it is valuable to compare what the world would look like if we did an idea.
Right.
That's what your alt does too. If
That's
we
fine.
adopted this unflinching paradigmatic analysis, what would the world look like? And that is exactly what we do with our plans. So
That's fine. If the U.S. has been slammed recently by human rights violations in all these countries, including China, are like, y'all need to fix your anti-blackness first before helping other countries, why is this an app argument?
Well, because our app is not about the U.S. reforming other countries' human rights.
But you're saying that you're going to provide family...
It is to some degree reforming its own human rights, because we have defunded a global agency that we funded for decades that provides family planning services to the globe.
So is that a global agency or focus on U.S. anti-black racism?
It is, well, the distinction is sort of not true. Our evidence suggests that there are millions of black folk globally that need family planning services.
Right. We're talking about domestic anti-blackness. What does the app do in terms of that?
It provides reproductive health services that are incredibly important to some of the most vulnerable communities.
Why should the U.S. go and help other people on human rights violations?
Because there is no trade-off. There's no trade-off between saying that we should go help people who are dying in childbirth and saying that anti-blackness in the United States is bad.
That's not the argument, but that's fine. How can you say that our conception of family is accessible to black folk when you don't define what a family is?
We did. I defined it as any consensual relationship between two willing people. That they both believe it is a family.
That's fine. And how do black folk access that?
Black folk can have
Within their
consensual relationships between willing partners.
Within their ontological position.
Yes.
That's fine. What does the world getting better have to do with the fact that there's still a gap of value between black and white lives?
Well, our evidence says that gap will define the gap of value.
Like certain lives are valued more than others. So while blacks progress, whites progress even more, and there's still a gap between those
that
lives.
explicit argument is answered in our Jacobson evidence. Says that whites are not progressing at a faster rate than blacks, and the gap is actually closing.
Right. I'm saying, why is it progress if they're still both progressing and there's still a gap between those bodies? Why is that progress?
Because progress is not tomorrow the world is perfect. It is
Right.
better, and it is better.
So
It is
you're
better
saying,
as consistently.
if whites are saying like 100 meters ahead, and then in 100 years later they're only 80 meters ahead, that's progress, even though they're still ahead?
No, that is incredibly slow progress, but our Jacobson evidence would indict that rate at which you believe progress is occurring. Also, the meters analogy is kind of odd. Our evidence says there have been massive strides made in all these.
I really with 937. Start with
Yes. Shut up. But yes, it is. And it's long sleeves, so we can pull this down, but I don't think like I drive an hour. I'd like happy. If I found something, if I hurt someone. I want to turn it. I was like I have. So I need a big. Yeah, I just don't want to.
That's right. 427.
Yes. Oh yeah, like when we go. Oh yeah, we did. It's hilarious.
Let me set up cards for
Oh yeah, check this out. Old one. So there's first. Oh yeah, I don't know if yes, when we committed our
whatever. You know what? I'm tired. I just want to weekend.
yes. Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense.
He's ready. Quiet down.
Awesome. So I actually have a document open in front of me, which I wrote in sophomore year that says, "God willing, I get to finals. I hope I get to give the speech." I'm happy that that is coming true. I'm happy to be in this position. Extremely grateful to be here. Now, Jerry started off his story somewhat similar to mine, beginning in 6th grade. Though he joined debate on his own volition, that was not necessarily the case for me. I got in trouble around the house, and so my mother forced me to join debate as a form of punishment. But for that, I cannot be any more thankful for both of their support, contribution, and pushing me towards doing this activity, even though for the first 2 years, every day I would come back home and have the same debate with my mother. Do I really have to go back to practice again? Now the tables have turned, and I'm grateful for all of their support, both from my mother and father, for all the numerous sacrifices that they have to make, whether that be scheduling things around debate or putting up with me doing speed drills at 6 in the morning. All of the different things that they have to do to accommodate me, I'm incredibly thankful for, as well with my sister having to put up with speed drills. I know she doesn't really like that much. And also a big shout out goes to DB. Like Ryan touched upon earlier, we would be nothing without DB. We would still be those two little kids walking around running the security cable we downloaded off of the NDCA website. And to this day, my most liked Facebook post has been the one where I said, DB is the man. And that definitely speaks to the nature of his contribution to the McDonough debate program and all that he does, both in terms of making us better debaters, but also helping us grow as people. I also want to thank Ryan for being a fantastic 2A, reminding me not to drop permutations and extend counterinterpretations, and really covering my back in everything, every speech that I give. I wish you the best of luck next year at every except for when we debate each other. Special shout out also goes to Callum. A lot of what I say in my speeches is literally me just reading what Callum says, because no one says it better than Callum. Also thanks goes out to Sahil. Being in that partnership with Sahil was critical. He transformed me from that little kid who didn't know how to flow, didn't know how to read cards, into a slightly better form of myself. Thanks also goes out to Alyssa, Ryan, Raj, George, Michael, Gabe, Victoria, Sion, Shinidi, Lopez, Jake, Joe, John, Simon, Kevin, Isabel, Hirsch, and I'm sorry if I forget others, for Capital Debate. And I think that's where we did the most growing as debaters, and I think that's also what fostered that change between myself coming home each day and saying, Ma, I really don't want to show up again, and actually wanting to show up again because of that sense of community. I also owe thanks to Sarah for all of the positive encouragement, Christine for teaching me so much over the years, Emily for putting up with me in all our arguments, Dave, I'm wearing your mala right now. His constant support and encouragement is always appreciated. Krishna for all the snacks, the Facebook posts, the cards, pretty much everything that keeps McDonough JN going. To Nutria, that was a fantastic debate in the previous round. Definitely one of my favorite debates of high school. To Eve for always being there every time I have to complain about something. And to BCC, because Maryland versus everybody. But most importantly, towards the debate community, because this is the community in which I've done the most growing. I think I really realized that during the college application season, when I realized that every question that asked something to do with my identity, everything was always related back to debate or articulated in terms of debate or even enhanced by my participation in debate. And I really do think that absent debate, I'd still probably be that kid walking around in his Dunkin' Donuts costume in sophomore year Halloween. Also to Miss Livermore and Mr. Britton for supporting the McDonough debate team and everything that they do to keep everything live. And to all of our lab leaders over the past few years, I think we did a lot of growing from all of you. That's Weston, Liam Hancock, Rob Mulholland, Matt Malia, Amber Kelsey, Lindsay Shook, Tyler Anderson, Gio, Marquise Ard, William Morgan, Joe Krakoff, Brooke Kimbrough, Jordan Foley, Brian Rubai. And also to the Berkeley debate team. I can't wait to debate for y'all next year. And then finally to Peninsula, I'm happy that our final debate of high school gets to be against a team where we actually like y'all. And so, okay, it'll be substantial overview, probably warrants a new sheet, then case written down. I'll sign this. Alright, anyone not ready? At the time, the one is emblematic of desire to preserve society's apparatus and condition black ontology to a state of death and non-existence. Even 1% risk of the app being anti-black warrants, and I value we have descriptive limits of society that should guide your decision. Anti-blackness is the defining system by which the world operates with the cohering of civil society around the deal, like the black body. Injustice has perpetuated the impact. Is anti-black violence has caused the objective vertigo of life, consumed by orientation because the world is shaped by violence upon you. Nothing makes sense when you kill for no reason. The deaths of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and just a few examples of this larger overall system in Northeast claim turns the app because it means that one, the app doesn't actually do anything because it doesn't research your ontology, and two, it only risks reproducing anti-blackness as the first one. And see Wilderson Garbage all explained here. I'll go ahead and do the big link here. Every bit of link work I do functions is just set to the app and permutation, which means we don't need to win an alternative thesis claim if we win a risk of a link. Think of this as a functional anti-blackness dissent there. Focus on human rights in other nations prior to a confrontation of human rights. Here recapitulates blackness into that position of abject and non-human. It allows us to conceptualize a framework of ethics by which we treat others without how we treat black folk, even if you think the 1AC is hypothetically a good idea. This debate is about metaphysics. Debate is an educational space, so considering the metaphysical implications comes prior to scenario planning, because Peninsula gets every other debate on this topic to do that. This is the finals of the TOC, a chance to make history by letting the first black person ever win the TOC, which would be a literal performance of the alternative. This debate should be about community setting. We have a unique opportunity to force a discussion of metaphysics. This means that they're trying to fix human issues elsewhere. Further defines a category of human that can articulate itself in opposition to blackness. They can give contraception to China but do nothing to resolve the contraception that is lead bullets lodged in the bodies of countless blood-marked bodies, which is why the alternative is the best metaphysical reorientation by which we can reject a perfection of the category of the human in favor of a new anti-ethical system, which is your role as the judge, meaning if we win their metaphysical ethics are bad, then you vote negative. They're going to stake this debate as the alpha being a good idea, but you need to recognize that this debate does not do anything except for risk that our metaphysical orientation can shape the community. Second is that their conceptions of the family are anti-black. The first articulation of this is the Wilderson card we read about native alienation, which is the idea that slaves were stripped of their humanity and conception of a family. You could always be stripped from your family at any moment, thus collapsing down on the conception of a family and being able to relate to others because you don't even have conception of your own body, your possession of yourself, which means that they further be able to define the category of the human and the family by being able to allow people in China to be able to further describe how their families operate, which lets them create a fluid conception of family, which they can define in opposition to blackness. Second of all is that family control and so assumes the possession of over the body, which the human Chinese subject does have, but the slave doesn't have. This metaphysical reorientation allows them to recreate a category that further creates itself in opposition to blackness, thus allowing us to re-ontologize violence, which means even if they win all their claims about how anti-blackness is not ontological, now the process of the affirmative re-ontologies that violence. Third is it lets others create their identity in opposition to blackness. The theory of semiotics says that the way that words work is that mutually interpretable, but that signs also define themselves in opposition to other signs, i.e. a dog is a dog because it is not a cat. Thanks, Peyton, which is the idea that Chinese families driving credence of the family allows civil society to further alienate the black subject for the human because they're able to recreate themselves in opposition to that. And the alternative is an unflinching paradigmatic analysis, which is posing question of civil society's unethicality. We think this means a rejection of the app for being anti-black, either affectionately or justification and construction in the app as to come to grips with the nature of civil society. Even if you don't buy alternative solvency, you think that the app acts and impacts your if we win our claims about the world, you vote negative because that needs them to invest in liberal and discourse, exacerbate civil society. This is presumption argument goal to line by line. They make a budget for arguments leaves based on the full list going to be the one and no. They say contingency default. That's Gordon 17. Argument. First of all, you can refer to all my arguments I made on the overview about semiotics theory. Press them for specifics and answering that, otherwise they can't win. That is contingent. Second of all, Gordon votes negative. That's Gordon Jackson in 13 times where express ambivalence calls to become votes. You mean like Lewis Gordon, black people must be humans for the obvious reason. Dominic Group can give up humanism for the simple fact that humanity is presumed not to such ethics. Gordon simply saw the mission of normal category of the human. Rather, the aim was to display the order of the man altogether. They say by and all. They say permutation with do both. You can group both the permutations here. First, that the permutations either link or they sever. The alternative was rejection of the act for being anti-black severing. The one you see from his
discourse. We also have a link to their educational model. Means any logical form of permutation would have to sever out of their education. Claim severance to the voter makes the one see moving target voter. The advocacy skills never learned for anything unconditionally. That's the most portable debate. In fact, that's voter for fairness in education. Second is that if the permutation solves, you can kick the alternative for us and vote negative on occasion. We don't need to win an alternative, just need to win a risk of a link that proves that the app is bad or that it reifies certain metaphysical categories which warrants a rejection. That the permutation is the worst metaphysical strategy. Any implementation of the alternative or discourse entails rejecting your focus. We need to critically examine the black family rather than engaging in their politics. Perm to the all means they lose because the alternative rejects the entirety of the one you see because it's faulty metaphysical orientations. And the permutation can't solve because the one you see can navigate example of traditional models you make it with them under while critiquing those metaphysical categories because it reverses any progress that the next try to make the true mutually exclusive as proven by the link arguments that we made. They made this argument that the U.S. is slain by the world, but that proves that the affirmative is reactionary, that they only do things like offer family planning in reaction to be able to preserve their legitimacy within civil society. They say black people need family planning. They lose the debate for this because, first of all, this is the idea of social control by being able to make black populations reduce the amount of output, is able to control civil society by being able to reduce the amount of people being injected. Second of all, this endorses black death. It's a project, it's a task that works towards the end of blackness within civil society by being able to endorse these forms of contraceptives, i.e. the lead bullets lodged within the bodies of people, the force of that. This problematizes these forms of metaphysics because the idea of black people needing family planning assumes that there's access to the family. That was all the arguments on the overview. They say macro political change is good, but this is irrelevant because this debate is about education. Metaphysics comes from where action because the question of our orientations. That's what debate is about. They say the world can get better. That's the Jameson evidence. First of all it says is that we're not in slavery anymore, which means that things are intuitively better. But that's not the reason why things are good now. Just because rates for different forms of oppression are lower doesn't mean ontological violence doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that people like Trayvon don't get shot, or different people don't have dispossession ideas in terms of the humanity. Also, time doesn't progress, it accumulates, meaning that even if things are getting better, that doesn't deny the fact that there is an ontological way that creates different forms of violence. They say trying to invent a new grammar fails. First of all, the point is that there is no grammar. It's the idea that grammar is what gives words coherence to be able to make meanings out of these. The idea is that blackness has no meaning, or the idea of stripping blackness of those different metaphysical categories has no meaning behind it, which is entirely the point. Make them also explain this. I doubt they know what that means. They'd say we should have solutions and debate that shall be seven heavens. First of all, we think that it's about metaphysics before solutions because we think that those solutions necessarily will reproduce these conditions of metaphysics. When you, if you vote affirmative for a Peninsula and endorse their plaintiffs, you recreate a conception of the family that lets itself define itself in opposition to blackness, which is why we need to have metaphysical discussion prior to actually passing these plans. Second of all, is that nothing actually happens within debate, which is why it's a question of these metaphysical orientations. They say we should not ontologize violence as a Barnett 9 card. We agree, but the Squo doesn't agree because the Squo is what ontologizes the violence. That's the overview, and that's what I did all above the semiotics. Make them answer that with specificity. They need to beat back against our abject thesis that civil society needs blackness to be able to consider itself, to be able to have itself give credence. They say engaging institutions is good, but it's the same argument as Shelby. We think that engaging institutions necessarily problematize the idea that there's metaphysical categories that pre-structure how you engage those institutions. For example, certain people can't engage in those institutions in the same way, which is the reason why we need to be able to focus on these forms of violence. They say dealing with yourself is ethically bankrupt, but this is just another way of saying black people stop talking about black people is another way to problematize. How can you possibly read an app about family planning and not expect someone to read an argument about the conception of the family? This idea of ethical bankruptcy also goes against our anti-ethics thesis, which is the idea that they've derived a form of ethics that's premised off of faulty metaphysical categories. I'm going to read another card here that proves social death. Your ontology is unattainable in colonized civilized society. Ontology does not permit an understanding of being black, and black people have no ontological resistance within the white gaze. The custom and source upon which they were based were wiped out. The defining structure yourself in real dialogue between body and world that's phenomenon. If you do every ontology being unattainable, colonized civilized society, ontology does not permit us to understand the being of black man, for not only must black man be black, must be black in relation to the white man. The black man has no ontological resistance in the eyes of the white man. In the white world, man of color encounters difficulties in the development of his bodily scheme of consciousness of the body, solely negating activity, which means that if we're able to win that this category of blackness is an ontological void that's structured by different forms of abjection and being able to define itself in relation to others, then we're able to win that doing the one thing without having that critical contestation or rejection of their plan is a bad idea because it reproduces these metaphysical categories, which you have a unique opportunity in the finals of the TOC to stop.
Yep.
access to this category of the family. When you create or are able to define, let people define their families, that lets them create those families in opposition to what blackness cannot possess. This is a semiotic
that's
statement
like,
that
why
science
can black
constructs
not
themselves
possess
in
the family?
opposition
I
to
get that in slavery, families were broken up. Why does that mean
not
black
just
people?
in slavery. Every time that a policeman shoots a black male and dispossesses a child from their father,
I agree. Families are broken up now. That does not mean
it's not just that families are broken up, it's that you don't have access to a family because you never know when your family gets taken away from you.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean that our definition of family is
It does in a
entirely
metaphysical sense. This debate is about metaphysics.
Okay, define why is family an ontological condition?
It's a metaphysical condition. The idea of the family is something that can be presupposed by understandings of common phenomena
that proves things are defined in their opposition to other things rather than just in themselves?
First of all, we have Wilderson evidence talking about how blackness is the object of civil society. This relies on the logic that different things need to.
There were societies that developed a definition of the family prior to the slave trade. So how do you explain that definition of family?
Because as soon as the slave trade happens, that problematizes the metaphysical category of the human.
But those definitions clearly existed, so it seems to...
I understand they existed until slavery happened.
Okay, and then your argument is slavery is so over-determining that nothing can exist without defining itself in relation to
in a metaphysical sense, absolutely.
If you win that social death is real, that blackness is an ontological condition, why does that mean that materially improving the quality...
You already missed the boat. This is about metaphysics. We think metaphysics presupposes a discussion of materiality.
I get that. Though we may not restructure an ontology, why does that mean that the app is a bad idea?
Okay, exactly what I just said here. If you don't contend with those examples of metaphysics and you don't contend with those issues of ontology that problematize your metaphysical conceptions, then the actions you take further allow different metaphysical and ontological categories to define themselves in a way that further dispossesses black people.
Okay, that's the internally missing. Why further rather than just don't change?
Because every time you let and give credence to another system to be able to define itself, it further defines itself away from blackness.
Family planning is population controlling. Is your argument that reproductive health services like Planned Parenthood are bad?
Are you talking about the one where you were like black people should have contraceptives?
Well, your answer was you made an argument.
No, are we talking about Chinese people or black people?
There are black Chinese people, but that's besides the point. You made an argument in the two.
Black Chinese people.
The UNFPA and family planning are attempts to control populations. Is that your argument that reproductive health services, abortion, etc., are like population?
Civil society uses contraceptives as a form of population control, whether that's condoms or bullets.
All right, it's going to be the K on the framework. We're going to set it in space, and then case. I'm just going to send out one card.
I'm sorry, what?
So, K, framework. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can look that up, like,
Watch this.
I give up on my face. Oh, when I tweet And see, this is why I was judging you, so that's fine, because that's what all the papers are saying.
All right. Is anyone not ready?
Consistently performance at the top of the one was a bad idea and will cause Peninsula to debate this narrative rises and expose to the limits of the current liberal democracies who actually provide liberation for the black body, written by political activists. Jimmy Bowes, he was married to political philosopher and activist Gracie Boggs for 40 years until death. Boggs was active in the Parliament Organization, correspondent publishing committee, Bed Illinois, TMR James for around the time the leftist service movement in the late early 1950s until Boggs and Gracie Boggs split in 1962, breaking with TMR James for correspondence publishing committee, earlier separately split in 1955 by Raya, during shocking the nearly half of its membership, and James and Gracie Boggs remain loyal to the correspondence publishing committee of the group, and by TMR James on how to promote the time in Britain, 1955 James Boggs became an editor of the Divine Monthly publication in the correspondence over political differences between TMR and James will become the eventually led Boggs to take control over the correspondence publishing committee in 1962 to continue and publication of only of a couple of years. James Boggs expressed the reasons for the 1962 split in his 1963 book, The American Revolution, pages from a Negro workers notebook. He wrote a letter in which he described how the revolution would not happen through things like top-down institutional change, but rather grassroots activism that comes within the status quo. Here's a quote that you can hang your hat on. No one in these old United States like to take responsibility for the country that they are in, but more rather ready to beat up and teach up people in other countries. This is exactly what the affirmative is. This is the neutral evidence that we read. This is the piece of evidence that we read on human rights from the Wednesday that instead of focusing on the human rights violations domestically, that cross-expose, they always want to go global and expand the expansion of U.S. democracy abroad. Also, here's another quote. No one in this country wants to take responsibility for the thousands of Negroes who have been beat up, shot up, jailed up in this country just for asking for some normal rights. Once again, it's not a priority to challenge anybody within the United States, but it's a priority to go to other countries and engage with China over things that are happening in their country, but not struggling for what's happening to change the system. Also, they said that this is a struggle to change a system. Each right that the Negroes will win, but will help destroy a system. And it's significant moves from now on must be in defiance with the American system and the American authorities. If the affirmative doesn't change the system, I change the vision of how we view democracy, then they cannot meet our frame of interpretation. Also, this is offense against the permutation made in the TOC. Also, it says conflict with the whole country. This is also offense against the permutation because we are trying to challenge the way in which American democracy functions in the first place. We challenge the ontological structure of how Biden functions, and on its record, it's a system in which any responsible historian will have to judge as they having operated by race exploitation. These are the truths which the Negro struggle is bringing to light, and these are the truths that I'm bringing to light for the three judges on the panel to actually reject the orientation of the one EC because it is anti-right. This is the framing that you will go for. The framing debate comes down to how we, as intellectuals, can formulate education and challenge the global system of anti-right gratuitous violence. One, nothing we do in this debate around elections in a parallel political war to cross-ex made clear that if you vote ab, all this is a fictional story of as if something about to happen, but literally there's nothing in the real world. It's about educational models and things that they cannot avoid cases justification to vote affirmative to, even if they win, that they play results or impacts to be only but the educational and in-round methods of performance, i.e. the performance of the one EC's method to analyze the call for another combination of the one EC three before our knowledge of nation should be a critical and social task with evaluating the best educational strategy or model of debate. It should be the affirmative and upward descriptive model that is independent by constitution to prevent white class education and create an socially productive discussion and debate. 4, we meet our frame via the link debate will meet follows the antithesis by nature of the affirmative. This is a key frame because it's your job as a judge to analyze the sinister functions of anti-practice within the one EC. 5, even if they win their frame debate, you still vote negative because the case of procedural issue meaning that as a judge as we want yourself away from the federal government. The whole intention is the power question because if they justify their hypothetical notion of abuse of action before they can navigate the passing of the plan. These are all the links read in the 2 Also, they conceded the current piece of evidence such that you should frame your decision based on anti-ethics. This is key because this is what niche will be going for the 2 based on how you frame your decision. This is around anti-ethics. I started from the ontological position of Biden. So if the 1 is not able to do this, you are actually rejecting them. This was a damning concession for them coming out of the 2 Also, we are a prerequisite to testing the desirability of the plan. If we are discussing policies with an anti-black modernity, then we can never understand whether or not the plan is truly desirable to everyone because it is taken into account the black body. Also, we are exactly what the framework interpretation says. We prove that the entirety of the plan and cases bad our education outweighs their fairness. Fairness is historically determined by the white majority opinion, and either way, there are no constraints. The fairness of the negative brings into this debate via our framing. Their scenario planning analysis, environment abuse evidence does not matter in the face of rape and anti-black violence presented by the affirmative. Even if they win this argument, the negative does not prevent the scenario analysis from happening in the first place. We're a net better form of analysis in education. Also, we do not prevent a debate about policy engagement. The negative actually gets to the heart of policy engagement and how the U.S. actually wants to impose human rights to discourses everywhere else. What's the case of it here? Extend arcane evidence, which calls for a question. Their discourse, the form of the ethos of the affirmative must be rejected, even if their intentions are good and their uncritical steps about anti-black disorders and integral to discounts racism that leads institutional structure domination impact. Star this argument, even if you buy to the rhetoric that the essays hundreds of thousands of people will then out not only see negative head on the debate that the bound literally does nothing to alter that, but also their heuristic approach to the plan is related to the agencies of the USG that becomes unchallenged within the context of society, meaning that their thinking is unpaired. This is a dishead to the affirmative turning back the performance. The affirmative claim that they would answer discounts racism on the critique, but if not, it was not answered and conceded. Now its function as an independent reason to reject the affirmative. This will cost Peninsula the debate once again. Their concession encompasses the fact that this ethical rejection is prior to any ethics of the 1EC forefront. So let the 1ER to recover from this argument. The role of the debate is to break free from this visuality invoked by the pedagogical practices of contemporary competition. The rhetoric of the affirmative use of speech like debate is a game. There should be fairness in the game. There are rules, things like speech on what if the debate was valuable. The framing issues misses the boat of what we students are really here for and what the subject positions operate from. They say that their evidence is about human rights as asinine. All the evidence is about a framework of ethics, which we challenge only in rejection of the affirmative can provide students with an alternative that allow examination connection between macrosocial and microsocial issues. This builds a recognition of our personal experiences, political, ethical indoctrination in order to truly provide a liberatory practice for the negative to reject the 1AC.
time.
Kind of just sense the time. I've gotten pretty good at that now.
I know, right?
I did find one that's closer to mine. This is being moved. Actually, is anyone sleeping? Sorry.
Is this the live stream?
Yeah. I'm trying to get plugged in a way that's close enough. But
Yeah, that
also. Okay. I think should be able to get that thing.
Yeah.
For the 2NR, I can unplug and just go back over to Niche and Ryan. So,
Yep.
but this will get them on there.
You said what? I'm sending it.
Just like a
the order is the case, the K overview, and then the K. Ready? Disconscious racism is just a big dressed up argument that's basically you have to interrogate racism. We agree in the perm proves that the plan and that interrogation is not in opposition. The game, the debate is a game. That'll be later on framework, but it does have some side educational value that'll also be on framework. All of our framework answers disprove this, and disprove these arguments on case and impact terms. And we're not divorced from the merits of the debate. The perm includes their educational model. They extend the human rights link, but it's backwards because we accept U.S. failure. That is the entire point of the affirmative, which is why increase in funding is necessary to correct those things. Human rights are universal. They have no answer to allow any evidence that says it's necessary to stop authoritarian violence, and there's no other conception that can resolve these forms of genocide. The person of the permutation recognizes the problem of the United States, which is consistent with their criticism of liberalism. Now, the critique of the risk of link is not enough. They need an alternative, otherwise it's a non-unique dissent. They need a strategy because pointing out problems is not enough, and our framework arguments impact turn the alternative solvency. Ontology is not prior to our solvency. They have card zero about the ontology behind Chinese contraceptives. This proves that we don't reproduce anti-blackness through the plan. There's no human rights link. First, we impact turn it on the case, and other debates don't. So we impact turn on the case. Now, other debates don't solve our offense. It's about the modern debate that'll be later. Contraceptives are not the same as police brutality. This is a metaphor, but it's definitely a stretch because there's two distinct concepts that'll be on the link arguments. No grammar of suffering link. Black violence worse is not a reason we shouldn't help women who need contraceptives. It's also not contingent on each other. Black violence or police brutality is not the same as mothers dying from childbirth, so they can't be defined in opposition to each other. Family, there's no family link. We don't define family in opposition to black violence. The F isn't some kind of totalizing metaphysical understanding of the family. The F simply took a stance that says access to contraceptives are good and ethical. It's not a stance that black families are not lost to violence. These universalisms are bad. Or Sonati evidence says that focus on totalizing ontologies glosses over particulars about ethical choices like the planned political decision making should prioritize ethics and have modesty in applying the broad ontological claims. Specificity is necessary to solve mass violence. Universalism resulting in the Iraqi intervention. That's the Sonati card. The alternative doesn't solve the affirmative. Remember, they conceded it's not they conceded it's a floating picture bad, but the framework arguments do disprove alternative solvency. Now, framework proper, we get the affirmative. It's key to fairness. In-depth discussions about racism should not be closed off to just metaphysics, but also the plan, because the intersection between reproductive health and racism has valuable education, is educationally valuable, but that requires the consideration of public health advocacy. We don't prevent our ability to contest their criticism is also the critical turning to their education offense. One-sided debates where we don't get our locus of our offense, or the locus of our offense is bad. Scenario analysis is the external net benefits, pedagogically useful. The plan poses the question, what would the world look like if the government passed this policy? To analysis of benefits and consequences is valuable because it teaches us the nuances of public health and helps us determine what we should support or how to organize and when to organize. That's the Barber card. This is especially true in the context of the discussion of public health and settles and challenges the dominant ideology that contraceptives are evil and abortion is murder. Prioritizing metaphysical questions over the F continues the status quo shallow understanding of reproductive health, which sanctions millions of people to suffering and death. That's the Buchanan Sonati evidence. They say liberal democracy bad. We didn't drop any of these arguments because framework and the permutation are implicit answers. The perm also includes a focus on democracy. We also their argument that they can change democracy is a double turn in Peterson's thesis, which is that democracy has no hope of changing. They say revolution doesn't happen from top down. We are the resolution because grassroots can take a stance on the state, which is exactly what we do. Reject attention policing, Green Law 12. I know to run around accusing progressives who have different political priorities are being driven by there are sorts of benign reasons why one might have different political priorities. There's smooth kind of innuendo with this existing privatization of civil liberties and issues and voting oneself to causes of irrational reckless one driven by racial political proceeding gravities or these issues not highlight them and properly using these civil liberties and social laws to deal with challenges precisely because they're primary make a threat and human privilege. That's why these issues are not just a distractor of the cause of equality but are an embodiment of it. The links are not prior to the plan. You should weigh them together. That was above anti-ethics. This was Supreme Court Sonati card, and they say that scenario analysis is invaluable because of anti-black violence, but the alternative engages in that kind of scenario analysis too, because it poses the question, what would the world look like with the alternative? Now, the Gordon evidence says that contingency of anti-blackness is real. You define the world by they define the world by anti-blackness. Slavery, saying that slavery restructured the society proves that institutional focus can also restructure society. They define racism. Racism derives its power from institutions, which proves that their causality is backward. And institutional focus is necessary. Permutation do all the F, which means it's not separate. We can also combine educational masses. Semiotics, things aren't always different. Defined in relation to blackness, the existence of society pre-slavery proves slavery isn't a totalizing recondition. This evidence proves particular and unique relations are possible. For example, families can be contrasted with the LGBT population. It's their population control link is conservatism that denies healthcare to millions. The family planning for black people argument is not nonsensical. Our argument is that black people, although they have specific needs, there are also a general structural problem like lack of access to contraceptives.
Right. Just making sure it's recording. Like the Wi-Fi has been so bad that I'm like really worried it's just gonna cut out.
This one right here.
Sorry, Risha.
Alright, order will be overview, case rate down, case. Is anyone not ready? You have the power to make history today. You have the power to let a black person win the TOC. You have the chance to say metaphysics is important. You have a chance to say black literature and debate matters, which is why you view this debate as a question of metaphysics. This debate is about how we can reconfigure metaphysics as a prior question to action. TOCs have been won countless times on actions, but rarely do they put actions off in favor of a discussion of metaphysics. We're winning a few thesis-level arguments versus that science create themselves in opposition to other science, which gives us the argument that civil society is always going to construct itself in opposition to blackness, so that blackness is that object of civil society which gives us coherence, which gives it credence. None of their arguments about ontology are able to deny the central thesis about the reason
civil society being able to lack that appearance of blackness what allows it to be able to carry out these forms of ontological violence, which means none of their terms are able to contest without the self-proclaimed. Third is that blackness is no way to articulate these ideas of family because the question of natal alienation means that there's no possession or sense of kinship with your own family because it can be taken away from you at every moment by allowing Chinese people to redefine their humanity in terms of possession of a family. They recreate their family identities in opposition to what blackness cannot possess, or at least we win a risk that civil society incorporates another conception of family structure to will against blackness, which means that passing the 1AC idea of their educational strategy only further ontologizes violence and puts it on the back burner. I know I've said this a bunch, but it really does matter. They focus on contraception. Does nothing to resolve the contraception that is the bullet, meaning our prior confrontation of metaphysics is the best ethical model. Prior question of what we do in other countries of metaphysics come from policy proposals or scenario planning because you can force the debate to be about the structures that never managed to have a place in this community. Their scenario planning is based on a world where ontology is still wielding violence against blackness, whereas our discussion configures how we understand the concepts we talk about, which is the best form of education debate cultivates Peninsula. Gets that round after round where they discuss the USFG just this once we need to expand their educational model to incorporate a discussion of metaphysics with better informs people on both of our firm and Korea, and the alternative is the rejection of their metaphysical categories and undoing the concept of the family, which structurally does away with the 1AC, which is something they have not yet contested. You should be an anti-ethical decision maker. This is how you phrase your RFD quote. I quote negative because if it's true that debates the question of education, then the negative is one, then the House defense of family structures is anti-black, and the subsequent education produced that from that defense was bad, so I have to default negative since they, when the fiat is illusory, my rules to be skeptical of the 1AC for being anti-black and negative. One to risk of the link in this firm, it goes uncontested, you can go to line. Ontology is not prior, yes it is, because ontology frames the way by which we're able to carry out different forms of actions, because those actions take place in a society in which different forms of ontology inform how those actions are able to carry out in relation to different people, which is why metaphysics is a prior question to different forms of action. They say contraceptive is not police brutality, but it quite literally is. It means you can't have family structures because you never know when it's taken away from you. You never know when your parent or if the family members are going to get killed or taken away from you because you live in a state of dispossession. They say anti-black is not a reason why we shouldn't help women, but nobody helps them. You don't get fiat in the metaphysics debate evaluating the alternate ethics come before the act. They say universalizations are bad. It's not universal as much as its foundational argument is that the signifier of blackness, that object of civil society is foundational to the creation of civil society. Civil society is not universal much either that it preconfigures their ideas of it. Go to the framework debate. Our framework revolves around the conceded performance of the affirmative can't escape importance of rejection. The debate is the issue of resolving one star. This argument, this should be near the top of your RFD. The performance by the political activist Jimmy Fox exposed the reality of not only how democracy functions, but how the affirmative functions. You're affirming your decision around what the app does for the Black American population. Second is our counterinterpretation that you should be a critical intellectual task with evaluating the best educational strategy. This creates the best form of debate because you are able to reject teams based on anti-black discourse that comes before their fairness. Third, so they can see the U.S. and justice have a chance to force this debate to be about metaphysics, not about the ethos the app is worth, but rather about the metaphysical aspects of the criticism that the app ignores that they say this debate is about in the plan. But if we win the plan itself as anti-black discourse, that's the reason to reject them. Fourth, so they consider the current anti-ethics evidence in the previous speech. Only I value new one area, so this means that the ethics of the affirmative not only reside in the whiteness, but it's your job to start from an ontological entity of blackness when invalidating your decision, and they can't win a fairness argument when they concede the one in our answer. The fairness is always determined by the white majority, and they don't have an internal link to our form of education because it's their form of education that we've won as being anti-black, and their farmer scenario analysis argument is their SOS for the affirmative in this debate, but it's not offense for them. This argument is just that a net benefit because it allows nuances in public health to see as scenarios. We don't prevent them, but rather critique the discourse in which they present the app scenario. There a few steps behind they make this argument about it's about what the world would look like if the planet but a world with the same metaphysics and ontological balance. That's why the alternative comes first on the permutation. The permutation is a worse metaphysical strategy. Any implementation of the alternative discourse entails rejecting your focus, and you can't embrace both because when we deconstruct the signifiers of the family, the app doesn't make sense anymore because nobody can articulate familial possession. This is a key drop argument for why the perm fails because it literally severs out of their metaphysical categories. They say metaphysics condemns people who are suffering to death, but they don't get help by things like reading the 1AC. They say reject attention policing. They should independently lose this debate because of this argument, because it's quite literally setting a dangerous precedent that black arguments are different forms of attention policing, and that black arguments don't have a place within the debate space, which is an independent reason why you should be able to reject them. This also links all the case arguments about disconscious racism, and is an independent reason why you should reject them. It is a bad model of endorsing something in the finals of the TOC. You don't want to be the judge who endorsed Peninsula TW saying reject attention policing. They extend this Gordon card by contingency, but there's no realistic semiotics argument. They also concede the Jackson evidence that says that certain scholars have to assume the position of the human is, i.e. Gordon, so he's not actually writing to be able to endorse the affirmative, but rather playing devil's advocate. They say racism destabilizes institutions, but it's the other way around that institutions are able to create racism in opposition to themselves, so that anti-blackness gives racism gives those institutions credence, which is why the alternatives, deconstruction, metaphysics come.
K overview shades rough.
Oh yeah. Like the
Oh, it's funny.
If that's really the key, I think.
Just a K overview.
The plan solves family planning globally. This solves hundreds of thousands of lives. It does not create an inaccessible definition of the family or entrench a dominant ontology. The history argument, a negative ballot does not remedy all of anti-blackness, and the permutation does not disagree with black literature as a theory. Their politics of recognition argument is new, and the two in our head contradicts the thesis of their Wilderson argument. The why civil society has coherence argument will be answered by the Gordon stuff and the Zanoni stuff, which will be explained below. The natal alienation kinship link about excluding the family. We did not create an immutable definition of the family. It was just that there are two consensual and willing partners to engage in some. That does not mean that the violence and the trauma of slavery or even the present have no application, or that black people cannot believe in that. It's not inaccessible. And Robert said in the thread of the tweet, he says that because it is a freedom is a cognition, it proves that we can still apply that to black people. Family structure also existed before the slave trade, which proves that we can apply some definition of the family independent of and constructing it in opposition to the blackness, but to blackness. It's a stretch to say that slavery is so strong of an ontological category that it means that nothing can be defined against outside of its relationship to blackness. We can still define families in relation to the LGBT population, single people, or nothing at all. Our Zanati evidence and the Barnett card, which was the 2EC or the 1EC and 2EC card, says that there are many types of violence, and the pursuit of one ontological definition to apply to all categories is a flawed philosophical strategy. It authorizes ethical violence in the name of their philosophical purity, i.e. in this context, allowing hundreds of thousands of people to die while claiming that we don't disrupt some ontological category. There are specific exceptions, and things can be defined ontologically in relationship to themselves or by other vectors of violence, i.e. aesthetics, etc., which was not contested in the 2EC card or that 1EC piece of evidence. The permutation also solves this because it injects doubt about our definitions. Our 1EC from the 1EC across, we said that this definition was not immutable. It was not some ontologically incontestable idea, but rather something that is susceptible to change, i.e. the permutation, which would allow that unflinching analysis. And it's not a flinch to suggest that our definition wasn't perfect from the get-go, but rather amenable to change, i.e. as personality. The next argument that that contraceptives are population control is a conservative tactic that denies reproductive health to millions and is just proven. This is also a metaphor, not a link argument. Contraceptives are not bullets, and that's a stretch to suggest that all the metaphysics argument, all the Zanati stuff I did above answers this, as does the permutation, because it allows us to inject that metaphysical doubt into the 1EC. The Gordon cardinal, to understand that here, we have defined the relationship of ontology by anti-black racism, which is an illogical way to do so. Racism is the combination of power and some sort of discrimination, which means that it is created and sustained by institutions, not ontology. So institutions create racism, not ontology creating those institutions. If they're right that slavery is so powerful as an act that can restructure society, then specific acts can deconstruct that ontological category. It proves that we solve. They have staked this on if we have hinged some definition of reality on an imperfect ontology, then we have entrenched it or made things worse. That's not true. Our permutation could be imperfect, but that doesn't mean we make things worse. In fact, though we still have made material conditions better, and we didn't change ontology, so now we have made the world a terrible place. The framework, or the K proper, the debate democracy arguments, the permutation is also a critique of democracy. It recognizes the failures of American liberal theory and democratic protections, and recognizes our necessity to do so. And also, this is inconsistent with their alt because it suggests that we should reinvigorate democracy, which is not any of their arguments. The framework stuff proper, we get to where after they've dropped that it's the central point of all of our arguments. Their
educational model is contingent on our ability to contest, which proves that fairness is not whiteness, but rather a prerequisite to more in-depth forms of education. Metaphysics might be important, but the intersection of public health advocacy and metaphysics in an industry discussion that's pedagogically valuable and proves our framework can include theirs. In fact, the purely metaphysical harmful model is harmful. That was the Zanotti and Barnett cards. The scenario analysis is our external offense. It proves that we should be able to weigh our affects pedagogically valuable to pose the question, what would the world look like if the government did this policy, and the consequences, benefits for students and teachers on how to organize these policies to support, especially in the context of reproductive health, because we have been failed by the educational system's top line, and reintroduced a dominant strategy. The curry anti-ethics thing was answered by all of our ontology stuff, and our framework does not prevent them from critiquing about dominant educational models, etc. They do preclude this scenario analysis thing because they have instead centered debate entirely on metaphysics, which prevents us from discussing reproductive health and re-entrenches a culture of stigma, which is unethical and turns their offense. Now, the permutation, they say you can't do both because of the signifier of family. You don't need a family to have reproductive health services. Rape, etc. are all examples of people that are rape victims also need reproductive health services, and disproves their argument. And all our arguments about why things aren't always defined in relationship to other things, but can be defined in and of themselves proves the we should lose because of attention policing argument. It wasn't that we shouldn't talk about anything else. It means that we shouldn't say that only one thing matters. It is a defense of the permutation. It's a stretch to suggest this is a voting issue. Our Greenwald evidence is a defense of the permutation because it allows their critique of democracy, etc. While also incorporating the strategy of reproductive health care, which saves hundreds of thousands of lives and does not entrench a dominant ontology.
Oh, sorry. It's okay.
I think you did.
Wait, does anyone know where Risha is? Do you know where Risha is? She asked for a compiled card, so I just sent her an email. Thank you.
I'm sure the internet follows.
God wills.
Not shaky.
How do you even scroll?
Yeah.
We got 175 views. Damn. Millions. Not us. Millions.
I'm just reading the comments. These are some funny comments.
Did y'all watch this?
No, we had a dance party at like worked out. No, there's like
Let them see your beautiful face.
Just hanging out and having a dance party. There's like sorry about that.
So is the live stream still going?
Yeah, I'm keeping it going through decisions.
Say hi.
Can we see the comments after the live stream's over?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Why would they right here?
I'm definitely down.
Good job. Thank you.
Oh, come on, buddy.
Dang. It's already on. I'm gonna be right back. I gotta call my parents real quick. I'll be right back. I gotta go. Sounds good, man. I'll see you next year.
Are you doing that?
Wait, no. Is that what meta means?
I don't know.
No, see, it's not going on yet.
Is it really not?
Wait, it's not on your screen yet. Wait. Nope, there it goes. It's on there. That's what meta is. This is meta. No, don't go in too far. That's weird. Stop.
Wait,
Stop. Stop.
Hold on.
If
No,
they can just
stop.
watch the live stream.
I can't see the comments anymore.
If they just watch the live stream from my phone.
Shh. Stop. No, they don't want to watch the live stream from your phone. Stop.
Wait, there's so many layers. There's so many
This
layers.
is so meta.
There's like so many layers now.
The amount of meta in there.
It just keeps producing.
I don't even know if that's actually what meta means. I'm just making this up. Peter says hi, Larry.
Do you, huh? Who does?
Peter.
Oh. Does Peter know it's me?
I think Peter, everyone knows it's you, buddy.
Oh my god, I hate myself.
Oh no, that was not good. I'm just trying to get the updated comments. But I don't want my hand to be in the live stream.
Everyone knows me from literally just your voice. Oh, I was saying. Oh my god.
Wait, that's what I'm saying. The live stream.
That's not what meta means. That was what meta What if all the judges die for their Yeah, it's like Cheney and I versus everyone. It's like the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games, except hate that version, and it's just Cheney and everyone. Ryan, Rashid danced for the live stream. Will you dance for the live stream?
I've heard. No, I won't dance on the live stream.
Why not?
That's
Your
embarrassing.
loving fans are being denied right now.
There are 154 people that I do not want to dance in front of.
No.
You should.
No, I'm not. I'm not debating. Nobody cares about me. Dance for the live stream. No. You just debated in front of me. The highest one was like 213. So you just debated it all of them.
That's fine. I can kind of debate.
I can kind of do debate. Says kids in the finals of the TOC.
No.
I can kind of do Ryan. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just dead ass not going to do that. Stop.
Wait, I still can't believe I didn't realize that the reason why the live stream made sense is because people can hear. That's the thing. I know I want them to hear me because I want everybody to know how incredibly stupid I am. Oh.
Bourgeoisie.
Ryan. I didn't ask you before I started recording. Yes! Okay. Well, I just feel bad because you're like supposed to ask me and then I put something.
You're debating for like all you anyway.
Okay. I don't want to make you uncomfortable or anything.
Good.
Yeah.
We're all not doing advanced.
I'm just not gonna dance for them. No, I'll throw a weird.
Oh, stop, bro. That's rude.
Can't do that. Move this again because I'm running out of battery and this was where I plugged it in earlier. Also,
Okay. Yeah, he just told me to watch it last week, so I hadn't heard a lot. Ryan? Yeah. Okay. Al. Yeah. Thank you. You want to go debate next year? Yeah. Okay. No idea. Alright. Well, I'll see you around on the circuit then.
Anybody know our recent?
Thanks to everybody for coming.
It was an honor to judge, so I thank you all for taking, I guess, maybe a risk on a younger judge to judge it. So thank you for that. Do you all want the short and sweet version or the long version?
Medium and sweet.
Sure. Okay. The way I end up viewing the debate, I guess, in a long term, is I think that this curry argument is never properly answered throughout the entirety of the debate. That's not to say it wasn't answered, but I don't think it's dealing with the particularities of how anti-ethics would function in a world of comparing different metaphysical entities. So, I guess start with the framework debate. I ultimately think it's kind of wash in terms of I think metaphysical questions should be important because they're intrinsic to the act's advocacy, because given the nature of theodic, even if I do weigh, let's say, your methodological impacts, the educational impacts to those things are important as well, and it gives the most clash for comparing offense on both sides. So I think that's the, most fair interpretation of the debate world to default to, because that's the only way to evaluate offense on both sides in a fair and predictable way. So given that, I think that there's two isolated offense for both sides. The affirmative has two impacts, I think, that they're winning. One is the scenario planning or scenario planning stuff, and second is the healthcare education stuff. And I think the negative is winning a vertigo impact, as well as a reason why metaphysical focus is good, particularly in the instance of Black individuals, given the nature of civil society and abjection. So I think those are offense winning on both sides, so then I started going through how do I compare these two things. I ultimately ended up concluding that even if you win your contingency arguments, i.e. if you win Zanotti, Barnett, Gordon, etc., those things don't deal with how Black individuals experience the world, i.e. there can be contingencies regarding or violence, etc. But I think the negative is making a particular claim about how Black individuals relate to the act of democracy, relate to the act of civil society, that narrows away from these broader critiques of institutional politics, etc., which makes me read Curry in a more favorable fashion for the because anti-ethical decision making is the only way to decide how to weigh impacts in the world of anti-Black violence. I also think it's problematic that the performance was never directly dealt with by the affirmative, because I think it gives them a lot of these overarching examples for social death, etc., that would outweigh any contingency claims made by the Gordon or Burnett or Nadia, because they're much more particular and they're much easier for me to hang my hat on and how to frame the worlds of impact. So given that, I think that the semiotics explanation as well as medial alienation links give more credence to the vertigo impact that would inevitably outweigh the ability to create scenarios or have healthcare education, because those forms of education that the affirmative is winning happens in black that would give.
So you said the natalism link and the what?
Semiotics link. Like,
the semiotics link.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna let Derek ask some questions. Put me in my first.
Yeah, I agree with really all of that. I think the app's prioritization of sort of non-domestic issues over sort of the U.S.'s own problems is anti-black and pops up a violent system. It's not that contraceptives are bullets so much as just the idea that the app is a good idea because it gives contraceptives and thus the ability to plan your family, presumes that everybody has access to that, which they don't, and I think that is sort of the argument that they're winning, not just like literally contraceptives or bullets. And so they're winning that maybe we should worry about sort of like other impediments to family planning that exist in the United States, i.e. like the fact that like people's sons are dying constantly when they're black, before we sort of deal with family planning issues in other countries. As an app, the impact calculus could have been a lot better on this, and with the 1 year on the 2 year on this would have helped quite a bit. I continue to be way more offensive. I'm not just like, it's not a bad idea still to help other people in other countries, but more like it is an obligation that we should also have to do that. And sort of framing it more like that, and much more on that question would be useful. You like sort of mentioned this at various points in the debate, but it's not, I think, nearly as strong and powerful as it needed to be. I agree a lot on the framework debate. I thought it was kind of washed, but I also think that even if you win the scenario planning is good, I don't think that is sort of a reason why they still haven't won that the app is not is still bad and props up an anti-black system, and that in a world in which obviously like us voting app does not lead to any sort of actual family planning action abroad, it is perhaps more important to sort of focus on the question of anti-blackness and the system that the app endorses. I also just like real quick this Greenwald card about like attention policing or whatever. I didn't end up having to really like think about this as an independent voter, but I did take a quick read of this card. It's kind of messed up. Like I mean, it's certainly just like, hey, don't call us out. I mean, it's like the worst form of just like, hey, we're trying to help. Like, don't call us out. I mean, it's just I read the card and it just was super tight. It's really it just was. And so if I had to think about that for a really long time, I feel like I would have been a little sympathetic to the next
Well, I understand that. I guess like, so the links, to me, like the first one about the focus on, that we're not like about what's at home, I think that, that